Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you guys another weekly reading wrap up. This is going to be for October 26th to November 1st. I believe I'll put the correct dates in the thumbnail and all of that. But first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who entered my giveaway. I did a giveaway in last week's weekly wrap up, and as of filming this, I'm filming this on November 2nd. The giveaway is now closed, so by the time this video goes up, the winner will be contacted, and I am just so excited that I have over 500 subscribers at this point. It's just so surreal to me, but I can't thank you guys enough for subscribing to me and watching my content. So without further ado, I have 5 books to talk about. I do have a DNF that I quickly want to mention as well. I have been getting into paranormal romance novels, and I'm thinking about doing a video about that in the near future. But I tried reading Jacob by Jacqueline Frank. I believe this is book 1 in the Nightwalker series, and I got to the 15% mark of this book, so I don't know too much about what this series is about, but from what I could gather, it has to do with demons. They are called Nightwalkers, and I just didn't care about the characters, didn't care about the story, so I just decided to put it down. So the first book that I actually finished this week that I want to talk about is Allscott and Bothered by Kerrigan Byrne. This is book 2 in her most recent historical romance series, and I got an arc of this off of NetGalley, so thank you so much to NetGalley. I'm always grateful to them for the e-arcs that they approve me for. But unfortunately, this one just kind of underwhelmed me. I gave this one 3 stars. So I have read 3 books by Kerrigan Byrne at this point. All 3 of them are a part of her Victorian Rebels series, which is the series that she's been writing well before the series that this book is a part of. And I enjoy her books. I think you have to love dark historical romances to really love Kerrigan Byrne. I really enjoyed The Duke with the Dragon Tattoo. I enjoyed The Highwayman. And then I read A Dark and Stormy Night. I gave that one like 3 or 3.5 stars. And then after reading this one, I just kind of realized that I don't think Kerrigan Byrne is the historical romance author for me personally. I like dark romances. I don't love them, if I'm being honest, especially in historical romances. I don't know what it is about that genre that I much prefer romantic comedies to serious dramas, and Kerrigan Byrne does not write romantic comedies. They are definitely dark, hard-hitting, you know, there's definitely content warnings with all of her books. So yeah, all that to say, I don't think that her books are the best match for me personally, and that's totally fine. What I did really appreciate about this book is that there is a tall, plus-sized heroine, which, hello, I'm tall, I'm like 5'10", and I'm plus-sized. Like, we love that representation. Also, I really liked the plot twist at the end. I thought that that was really well done. You know, I was very underwhelmed by the romance. I thought the pacing was a bit too slow the whole time, and I thought that the book overall was a bit too long. So yeah, unfortunately, this book didn't work for me. Next up, I want to talk about one of the paranormal romances that I read this week, and that is Halfway to the Grave by Janine Frost. This is book 1 in her Night Huntress series, and this series follows Kat, who is half vampire, half human, and Bones, who is a full-on vampire. He has lived for a couple hundred years at this point, and Bones is pretty much Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, down to the Cockney accent. The personality very much reminds me of Spike. Also down to the way he looks, because the way that Janine Frost describes him, he has platinum blonde hair, he has very sharp cheekbones, you know, things like that. And so Kat and Bones are a really fun couple to follow. This whole series follows the two of them, which is kind of unusual, at least in my experience, because most romance series that I have read, each book follows a different couple. So I think this is going to be a really interesting series. I enjoyed this first book a lot. I did give it 4 stars. I just love Kat and Bones and their dynamic, and there was a good amount of action and paranormal fun going on. I will say that I thought the ending went on a little bit too long, which is probably one of the main reasons that I gave this 4 stars and not 5, but I definitely plan on continuing with the series. I think the series has like 7 books if I'm not mistaken, and there's also a couple of spin-off series that Janine Frost wrote, so I'm definitely planning on checking those out as well. Next up, I want to discuss Slasher Boys and Monster Girls. This is an anthology of YA horror short stories, and there are a lot of amazing authors that are featured in this short story collection. We've got Kendara Blake, Jay Kristoff, Lee Bardugo, Marie Lu, Megan Shepard, Kat Winters, and the list goes on from there. I believe there's about 12 or 13 short stories in all. I've just heard a lot of great things about this anthology. I feel like anthologies in general can be very hit or miss, but this is one of the few, especially YA anthologies, that unanimously gets pretty positive reviews. And I have to say, I really enjoyed this. One of the things that I loved about this collection is that each story is based on a specific film or novel, or even in the case of like Lee Bardugo's story, it was based off of a Nirvana song, which I think is so cool. And this collection makes me want to check out all of the source materials that these authors used, because I thought that it was just such a cool concept. And what I also appreciated is that a lot of the films that these authors base their stories off of are older films, like from the 60s, 50s, even earlier, which I think is great because it exposes the YA demographic of today to these older film classics and these masterpieces. I will say there were a couple of stories in here that I didn't love as much as others, but most of these stories I would give like 4 or 5 stars. I thought that they were really well done, and now I really want to read more horror short stories. So if you guys have recommendations for that, whether that be YA or adult, definitely leave them down in the comments below. And I do think that these stories are completely appropriate for a YA audience, so if you're concerned about getting too scared or grossed out or anything like that, I don't think that you need to have that concern with this anthology. Next book I want to discuss is Lover Awakened by J.R. Ward. This is book 3 in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. For those of you guys that don't know, this is an adult paranormal romance series that centers around this brotherhood of vampires, and they are tasked with protecting the entire vampire race against these beings called lessers, which are essentially immortal humans that are evil and are hell-bent on slaying the vampires. And in this world, vampires don't prey on humans. In fact, human blood kind of makes them weaker. It's best if vampires feed off of other vampires, which I think is an interesting twist. But this is book 3. This one is about Zadist, who is definitely a broken hero, very angry and bitter at the world, and for very good reason. And Bella, who at the end of the second book was kidnapped by one of the evil lessers. So I totally see why this is everyone's favorite book in the series, even though I've only read these 3 books. I thought this was absolutely fantastic. I had to give it 5 stars. I also want to quickly mention that I gave Slasher Girls and Monster Boys 4 stars. I don't think I mentioned that. But back to this book, I thought the romance was fantastic between Bella and Zadist. Zadist is a wonderful broken hero. I love his character development throughout this book. I adore the direction the plot went in. We have a lot of subplots going on as well as the romance, but I thought that J.R. Ward did a really great job of balancing all of these plots. And I was planning on stopping reading this series after this 3rd book because everybody says that this one is the best, but I just want to know what happens next in the series, so I think I'm gonna have to keep reading the next few books at least. I know that a lot of people unanimously agree that the series definitely goes downhill in quality after like book 10. Right now there's like 17 or 18 books out in the series, so I think I'll probably read up to about that point and then, you know, cut my losses. But yeah, I thought this was fantastic. It's a really interesting world. I love her take on vampires in general, so I definitely recommend checking it out. And last but certainly not least, I'm pretty sure this is my favorite book of the week, and that is Succubus Blues by Rochelle Mead. Rochelle Mead can do no wrong in my eyes at this point. So this is book 1 in the Georgina Kincaid or the Succubus Blues series. This is her, or one of her adult paranormal romance series. As you guys know, I adore her YA vampire books, which are the Vampire Academy series and the Bloodlines series. But I was really interested to see how she would do in the adult paranormal romance genre, and I think she's just as fantastic, if not even more amazing in this genre than the YA genre, because I just couldn't give this less than 5 stars. So this is a really interesting concept. We are following Georgina Kincaid, who is a succubus, and a succubus is essentially a female demon who feeds off of the life force of mortal men. And she has been living quite a long life. From what we can tell in this first book, she's probably been living for like thousands and thousands of years at this point. It sounds like when she was a mortal, she was living in like ancient Greek times or something like that. So yes, she has been on this planet for a very long time. And we can see from the very beginning of this book that she's definitely getting tired of her job. It's not an ideal existence. And she can't even date men because even kissing one of them would take away some of their life force. And she loves to read, which we love a bookish heroine. And she is obsessed with this one author, Seth Mortensen, and he actually moves to the Seattle area. That's where this series is based. And so she meets him and kind of starts falling for him, but of course there's definitely a forbidden aspect to their relationship. And from page 1, I adored Georgina's character. She is such an interesting character to follow, and I adored getting her backstory in this first book and seeing her friendship develop between her and Seth. And I can already tell that her romance with him is just going to ruin me because, like I said, there is that forbidden aspect to it. I also loved the side characters. She's got some best friends, I think a couple of vampires and a demon and an angel as well. There's a lot of different kinds of characters in this world, which is always really fun. So yes, I highly recommend this first book at least. I am so pumped to read more books in this series. There are 6 books total, and I'll definitely keep you guys updated about my thoughts as the series goes along. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this weekly reading wrap up. Definitely leave a comment down below if you want to discuss any of the books that I brought up in this video, or just leave a comment telling me about your favorite reads from October. I definitely love getting book recommendations from you guys. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!